Hey guys, welcome back to Victory Gardens by Rain. I am Rain and we're going to show you today the November garden tour. So we came out here a few days ago to do this tour when everything was nice and beautiful, and we'll interject some clips right now. This is beautiful mojito mint. And then over here, we've got some cabbages, and those flowers in the back are called wallflowers. They are winter blooming for us. We have a few tomatoes on the vine, and this with the red cages is the 5-color jalapenos. And as we swing around a little fast, there was strawberries in that bed. In this bed, this is the other end of the garden. It shows my bikini peppers and some, just how beautiful it looks all laid out in the mid-November. And then to the left, those berms are there, which they're not, when you see this video, they're not there any longer, but those are pumpkins that we grew this year. Super exciting. And these are onions that was put in the compost, which we're fixing to swap our compost system. So I wanted to show you that, guys, this on how we're going to do things. This right here is what we're going to be moving forward. So then we got hit by a whole bunch of wind, and it was really bad. The audio was really bad, and so we got smart, ordered a mic, and in that time a frost came, and so it took away all the beautiful things that was still here in November. But I still wanted to take some time to show you what's going on in a garden in Zone 8B. I'm in Georgia, a little bit southeast from Atlanta, and there's a lot that's still going on in a garden. And we actually grow food here all year round, and I'm going to be starting some seeds today. So I think this is a really great opportunity for you to kind of see what goes on in November. So come along. So these are some snapdragons that I put in because we like to have a beautiful entrance into my garden, and these are going to be used for some cut flowers. So one of the big things that's different about Victory Gardens by Rain as the business and as the consultation part is we are changing our business to be nothing but cut flowers. So the reason why we decided to go from full market vegetable garden to cut flowers is because I actually got called into the mission field, and we as a company, we're going to be going to areas that are food deserts and different disaster relief efforts to be able to provide food for people who don't have the opportunity. And so we're actually going to take this Victory Gardens idea and transplant it to where we can teach people to steward the land. And that is so near and dear and close to my heart that I'm super excited. But for here in the demo garden, we're going to switch to cut flowers because that's where my daughter's heart is to be able to sell at market. And it takes a little bit less care as far as the day-to-day harvest. And it's an opportunity for her to be able to move forward with her dreams and for me to be able to move forward with what we feel like God is calling me to do. So that is what's going to change. That just changed the business dynamics. But for here in the demo garden, this is my heart. This is my home. And so we're still going to be growing food for our family. So with all that in mind, what's going on in the garden? So we have the snapdragons here, and then we have a mirror image on the other side right here. And then eventually I'm going to be planting some pansies and all these things just to make it a beautiful entryway. And speaking of the entryway, in the clip that you just saw, there was this beautiful thunbergia that was climbing up this arch, and I absolutely loved that look. So I'm going to try to mimic it, but it only went to about like right here, I think. Probably maybe a little bit right here. I don't know. You'll see in the clip. But I want to take and plant a climbing something here, and I really have my heart set on the Ladybank's yellow thornless rose, because with that yellow rose coming up and then the Thunbergia, which I'm doing every year, I think that's going to be really beautiful. So that's, I'm excited. So I'm going to be looking forward and planting a rose here into this entryway. We're going to be replanting these pots for the winter time. There's a lot that you can grow in a container in the pot, and if you hang out, I'll probably do a video separately on what we do there. Straight back, because I don't know if you remember from last time, this was two raised beds and we had a little archway that went over here, and it was kind of like my entrance way into where my brother carved out the cross back here. But we are changing that because I want to move more of my garden in ground versus raised bed for my perennial cut flowers. So from here forward is going to be mainly perennial cut flowers and annual cut flowers. So we're going to go from here all the way to the fence. So I had a friend come over with machines, and he cleared out all of this brush under here, and I'm so excited because in the shaded area, kind of right here, right where I'm pointing, that area is going to have a chicken coop. And I am so excited because I've been asking for a chicken coop forever. But my husband, the wise man that he is, he wants to finish a project before we start a project, and those are lives that depend on me. So I need to kind of get it together and have it prepared. But I'm very excited about that because of the compost program that we can implement, and I'll bring you guys along for that. So this area moving forward is going to be, so we're going to have a walkway coming through right here about where Splinter's standing, but then we're going to have rows that come right here, and it's going to go all the way to this new greenhouse. It's actually going to go over there, but this is the space that we have right now, and it is able to be moved. But my husband is putting modifications on the design because it's very lightweight. And one of the things that we have struggled with since moving to this property has been the wind. I've never had to actually factor in the wind with planning, and so this is a really good exercise for me to learn better. But coming off of the land behind us, the west, so this is west, this is east, the sun rises here and it sets over there, the wind just rushes right through here. And so we've tried two different types of greenhouse plans. One was a pop-up version that ended up in the woods, and one was a very creative engineered situation that worked really well, but it was not pretty. And so this was a compromise between me and my husband, where I needed functionality and he needed not to stare at a bunch of pallets and plastic. So he bought this, and it's 10 foot by 20 foot, which will actually allow us to have a lot of seed starting space in here, but it'll also allow us to be able to have some storage for warm storage, like a low tunnel. So I'm really excited about that. But where it actually is sitting right now is going to be rows of cut flowers. So that's really exciting. Then these in-ground plots, so I've divided it into subplots. So we've got this one where we have foxglove here, and then broccoli 1, 2, 3, 4 rows with a little bit of dianthus or sweet william on the end. And then on the far side is foxglove as well. And so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows. I haven't planted the 7th one yet, but we're going to take and kind of cut and paste this to go right here where Tomato Alley was this summer. Look at this. I'm so excited. Isn't that beautiful? This is a bottleneck gourd, which the frost hit it. I planted it very late, but I figure why not? And they're beautiful. And I don't know if they're going to cure or dry. I think I can pull them off now. I'm not really sure, but I'm going to decorate them for Thanksgiving. So we're going to, this is one of the last projects that we have to tear down. And then under this is we planted with perennial yarrow. This one is the pink rose yarrow. And then if you go down here, this is collard greens, which is we just planted about 3 weeks ago. So that's here. And then in the middle is the yarrow. And then, so I have collard greens as our food, and then the yarrow as our perennial crop. And then interplanted in here is these little rosette looking things are Brussels sprouts. And I'm very excited to be able to grow them because this is the first year that I've had them planted in the correct timing. But I planted them as more mature transplants because I found them in North Georgia on the way back because I didn't have time to start the seeds this year. So the Brussels sprouts are really beautiful, but they have this curl to it. And this is from the sudden frost that we had because we got down to 27 and it was 40 for a day. So it was quite a few hours in a very cold from going from 70s, which is not, they're not used to that. But this is a perennial. This is an aster that we have. And I didn't put a tag out, so I'm not really sure what variety it is, but I'll look in my notes. But so it's a perennial flower crop intermixed with an annual food crop. So I want to try to incorporate that as much as I can while these perennial plants are still very young. And then eventually these will all just be perennial uh, cut flower rows. So this is the next row down from the Brussels sprouts. And I wanted to point out that this is 3 rows of cut flowers. I know my shadow's kind of here, but we've got 1, 2, 3. And these are all different varieties of cone flowers. And I actually have 2 more that I need to transplant to put in here to finish out the 3rd middle row. But the plan here is to make sure these cone flowers are just kind of in the same spot. And then we'll have these structures set up to net them so that they'll get really tall. These are supposed to be about 24, well, 36 inches, very tall cone flowers. So we'll see how they go. They were very short because they were in the containers for a while. So that one's the 3rd flush. That's why that one's so short. They shorten as the season goes and as you cut them, which I think is very cool. Most of the raised beds are going to be with food crops, but we have interplanted, due to available space, perennial things. So we've got here, this is marjoram, which is a oregano equivalent. I actually like the taste of marjoram better than I do oregano because to me it tastes fresh, but a lot of people can't tell the difference. But this is the, what is it called? Native variety of yarrow that we have that grows here in Georgia. And I actually had a friend stop on the side of the road and grab it, and it has flourished here. But we're going to move it out of this raised bed into a cut flower row so that we can spread out what has already established here, and also so that it can grow tall, because yarrow gets about like me. This yarrow gets about like me shoulder tall, and it's a massive plant. And so I'm thinking about putting it along the fence line to the cow pasture because it doesn't get tall enough to block the visual, but it is a beautiful accent to a beautiful cow that comes up to my fence line. So that's going to be really pretty. So one of the things that I want to make sure that I really keep in mind moving forward with this shift change is that I still want it to be a beautiful place for me to come and sit and worship and play in the garden and just really enjoy being here. And structure is important to me. I like my lines, I like my boxes, and I like my rows, but I really want to keep in the mind of it being a wild, beautiful place to where people can come and just find joy, myself included. So one of the things that we're going to do is just make sure that there's blooms just everywhere that don't really have a purpose other than just bringing joy and providing pollinators a home. So we're back at the entrance right here, and these 3 beds are now empty. I had bikini peppers in there and a wild cowpea vine climb up there, and it even went onto the ladder. It was really cool. And then I had sun gold tomatoes growing here and watermelon, and it's empty. And then here was watermelons and um, mortgage lifter tomatoes that was growing. And so um, this is all empty, and I am going to be planting that today, later on today after we make this video. And then right here, this is bok choy that we use. My husband loves ramen, and so they are really good in ramen. This is really good. And then we actually take and we use the blooms, and we'll take and put that in the ramen as well because it's good. This is a ginger root that I pulled up from the ginger right over there that we grew, and the frost got it. But I'm actually going to be using this ginger to make tea. This is the cowpeas from the vine that was up here on that bed. But moving forward, I'm going to be planting sweet peas and probably lettuce here, and then sweet peas, so green peas that like snap peas, and then this is sweet pea the flower and sweet pea the flower, and then we're gonna do the same thing over there. So sweet pea, flower, flower, and then green pea, and then those two beds over there are gonna have green peas on them as well, because that is a family favorite and it takes a lot. This right here is what we had termed the market bed, and in here we have cauliflower down at the end right here, and then at the front we just pulled out the celosia. So we're going to plant kale seeds here. And then I've got two different types of cabbage in that bed, which isn't that beautiful? It's so pretty. So even in my planting, I try to keep beauty in mind to where I just make it a beautiful pattern, still practical, but beautiful at the same time. This is another row of cabbage. So these cabbages on this bed will come to a head slightly before the cabbages in this bed. So I kind of staggered planted those. These in the middle are called Savoy cabbage. And the ones on the end are your heading cabbages. So these take 53 days to head up, but the frost came through and kind of shocked everything because it's not used to being super cold. And so there's a little bit of damage there. The lobulera didn't love it at all. Hey, Shorty. Hey, Shorty. Here's your good boy. But through here, so this Savoy is like a Chinese cabbage, and it's really good. It's got like a softer leaf that's better for shredding and cooking with like that. And then these right here are headed lettuces. So we'll see how they do. They were planted right before the cold snap, the headed lettuce. So if we get these, we'll be very thankful for them. But these ones are, we'll just see how they go. I'm a big believer in planted anyway. So the thing to note here when you're growing brassicas, like so the cabbage is here, and then over there the Brussels sprouts and the collard greens, and then in that plot the broccoli, is that they are very heavy feeders. So you need to make sure you're feeding them really well with the liquid fertilizer once a week at least, and a granular fertilizer when planting, and then about twice during the season. Okay, so this bed right here, we had to repair because it started bowing out, and that's okay. But these are snapdragons. They're rocket snapdragons, so they get really tall, about 4 feet. So they're going to go in this last bed right here, and that's going to be the start of transitioning these 4 market beds into cut flowers. So in these beds, I think, I'm not quite sure, I'm still praying around it, but we're going to have snapdragons here. I'm going to try to do like tulips in here and ranunculus. And then I think I got a few daffodil bulbs, but I'm not sure. I'll have to check because I think I got the daffodils for a client. But in any case, we want to do bulbs here um, in these market beds. And so I'm actually going to interplant in between these cabbages once the bulbs finish their chill cycle in the fridge. Okay, so another big change that we have going on as a farm is we had created these berms that are behind me to make more room for the market garden. So we wanted to extend out what we sold at the farmers market, which was tomatoes and peppers, onions, and potatoes. Yeah. And so we created these berms. I will say, highly recommend if you have an in-ground garden and you have the ability to get your hands on some mulch and some compost. We that was a great process that we did. However, because I was gone this entire year almost, traveling back and forth to North Carolina, trying to scout out places and develop gardens there, we didn't quite get this to an off-grid watering system. We didn't get it implemented in time to be able to pull harvest from these plants. So as you can see, the peppers loved it. Peppers do really well in with less water. The potatoes did really well. We got a lot of potatoes. And then the onions that we planted did pretty good. It could have been better, but they did okay. But the tomatoes that we planted over here did not do good at all. Not at all. Not one single bit. I don't even think we got a single tomato off of that. Did we? No. So that was definitely a learning curve. But I really love it. It kind of composted in place. But in order for this to be first year effective, there needs to be a lot of water. And so we set up these tanks you can see behind me.
So these are IBC tanks that we got off of Facebook Marketplace for about $50 each. We went ahead and bought 3 at a time for a future project that we're going to be doing. But this is how we did our watering system for these berms. We're going to be doing a YouTube video soon, so make sure you guys look out for these to be available so that you can participate in that off-grid watering system.
So with that in mind, that we did change the direction of the farm. We're actually going to keep our growing spaces to the raised bed and back because there's a lane here. There's a driveway that we've kind of created that goes in between these berms and these raised beds. But I like this area better as a staging area. And so the greenhouse that we have over there, super excited about, is going to live here. But before it lives here, my friend is coming over to finish cutting down these trees, and we're going to clear out this area right here a little bit better so that there's a natural walkway to the greenhouse, which will be right here. And the reason why I'm positioning it here is actually very strategic because it gets the winter east facing, south facing sun. Lord, I got to figure out where I'm at. And that's important with the heat. But in the summertime, the sun actually is higher, and so it will get a little bit more shade. And that's important where I am. So a lot of times people are like, greenhouses need to be in the full sun. You know, they need all that. But here in Georgia, being in full sun is 16, 18 hours a day. Not really, just 16 hours a day. And it's super hot and it builds. So we've got some really great off-grid, very sciencey, fun things that we're going to do with the greenhouse. But for it to be successful, it needs to be in part of the shade. So because that's west, the sun sets over there, it'll get afternoon shade. So right where Shorty is, up to this log, this is where that greenhouse is going to live. Now, this lane is going to go straight, and as you go straight, you'll see, if you'll come behind me, you'll see that there is a clearing area right there. And from the double trees to this corner of where the greenhouse is right now, that's going to be dun, 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 my glass greenhouse, which is going to be whimsical and beautiful, made out of windows that my friend saved me. And my prayer is to have that built by, hopefully by my birthday next year. That'll be my birthday present. But we're going to build a kind of a platform to put it on, and that's just going to be a beautiful space that I can have set up with the chairs and maybe a swing beside it and just something like that. So that will be the start of the production garden. It'll be from here, like that window greenhouse, and then it'll go that way to the coop. So we're actually going to keep all of our production in a quarter acre, just about, of growing space, which is exciting and challenging. But this will be cleared up. And so the plan here is we're going to take these tanks and we're going to implement them into a different area of the garden back there with the cut flowers. And then this is going to be the compost system area. And then we're going to have the mulch drop off back here. And then we're going to have like my pallets and the tables that we're going to build for selling veggie transplants, and having, and my heart really is to have transplants available to be able to take to wherever areas that we are at all times, so that we can always have plants going in the ground. So that's the tour of this side. We'll quickly go over to the other side. Okay, just to orient yourselves, we were just over here to my right, talking about that area. We're going to go to the left, talking about this area. Now, there's something that is very obvious that you'll see in this garden, and that is that this is in full sun and this area is in the shade. That is very important to note, because while I'm planning my garden, I keep in mind that this is the cooler side. This is the side that gets the least amount of sunshine in the wintertime. And that this is where I need to be less water and less things. So this is kind of my lower maintenance side of the garden. So on this side, this is where I'm going to be putting more of my perennial herbs, my things that don't require a lot of watering and just different things like that. Here, there was a tomato, poor little sad tomato. I tried to save him because it was a baby, and we got about 3 tomatoes off of it, and then the frost hit. But this bed is going to, like I said earlier, it's going to have sweet peas and then probably some leafy green, like kale or mustard. And that'll be the plan going down through here. So we'll have sweet peas, the food, and then sweet peas, the flowers. And then throughout this side, we'll be doing mostly our root crops like rutabagas, turnips, parsnips, carrots, you know, different things like that. And then I'm still going to keep in mind of perennial crops. So one of the things that I did is this bed right here. In the previous videos and different things that we had, this had a huge garlic. I mean, not garlic, basil. Yeah, in here, and then it was underplanted with Welsh onions. Yeah. So what I did is, the Welsh onions is a perennial crop, and they're very prolific. They grow, but they're dual purpose here in my garden. So we will harvest those onions as a crop for a food, but also the blooms that come off of that onion are beautiful, and they're very unique in different stages. So we can use those in cut flower bouquets. So instead of having it in a raised bed, I took and I transplanted it over here in the ground, so that it'll create like a grassy texture here, and it'll have the blooms, which the blooms get about, you know, this high. But it also creates a perimeter for pests, you know, so it implements like doing different strategic plantings like this around the perimeters of my garden is going to help create the ecosystem.
Shorty, get out of there.
Yeah, and you know, the doggies like to trample. Boy, come here. This, honestly, since I planted these here, this is like his favorite place to be. I don't know if it's because the soil is cool or him stinky, but this sweet boy. But anyway, so I'm going to copy this. I pulled out some more right over here in this bed. Um, this is what the Welsh onions look like when you harvest them yesterday. But they're these little bitty onions that you can use as a garnish, or you can use it. They're really good for stock. They're really good for onion powders. But I really, like I said, I just use them for garnish or the cut flowers because there's so many. So I'm going to be planting them in between my boxes on the front side, so it kind of has a landscape look to it, and also it's functional as far as a pest perimeter, and then it has the food function. So those are the types of things that I'm trying to implement the most here in this garden as I move forward in a different direction. Okay, so another additional thing that I'm going to be doing in these beds throughout, especially in the front beds, is I'm going to take, because there used to be a green stalk right here, and in that green stalk we had strawberries. But I took and I planted the strawberries in the raised bed because they were so prolific, and they produced a lot of strawberries, and I really wanted to take advantage of the natural growing pattern of the strawberries and have them multiply in this bed. So eventually I can have the front beds all strawberries because those are a lot of fun for people to come in and enjoy in the garden. And I want to be able to offer that too. But it takes care of creating a perennial food source and providing something in the soil that creates soil health. But I can use this to help multiply the plant for the future goal that I want. I really want to, on the food side of things, I really want to kind of transition my planning and my growing to only growing food that my family likes instead of the market mindset where what sells. And that's why I'm kind of pulling the varieties in. And I know that my family loves strawberries. And so I want to make sure that there's an abundant, this is an ever bearing type of strawberry. I think it's called Chandler, but it actually might be ever bearing. It's one of the two varieties. But if I can multiply these throughout, I think my family will really enjoy being able to have that many strawberries. And then back here, we're going to have the peas, like I said, and then in the spring, we'll put tomatoes back. We have one ripe tomato. Nope. Oh, yeah, it's ripe. Got something on it though where another one busted, so we might need to wash it. My daughter loves tomatoes, which is why I try to grow as many as I can. Um, but these are peppers. They're sad, but they're peppers. So the frost came through and it nipped the leaves, but the peppers and the tomatoes, see the sad tomato behind me? They're actually fine. They're not going to, obviously, they're not going to continue growing on the vine. But as I pull these, some of them are not good and some of them are. Like this one started blushing. So it will be ready to eat in just a little bit. Well, it's got some spots in it. We may have to cut out the spots.
It's wonky.
It is wonky. So this is an heirloom. So whenever you're growing heirloom varieties, they usually don't have that unique uniformity, beautiful presence that you see at the grocery store. They are funky. Like heirlooms grow funky. Like this one. This is not good. We're not gonna eat this one, but anyway, the we'll pull all the tomatoes off and then take the branches down, the debris down. But I try to keep these beds going with food. So in here we have more cabbage. This was my second sowing. So we did the long bed and then I did this one and then the bed after that. So these look a whole lot better than the other ones. One, because they're not in full sun and they like it cooler over here. And two, the frost didn't hit it because the frost hit the tomatoes and it kind of was a protective little microenvironment. And so I suspect that these are going to be our best cabbages coming through, which I'm really excited about because my husband has been wanting me to grow cabbages for 2 years, and prayerfully this comes through. So anyway, so this is the more intentional side of the food production plan, and then it goes back here. This will be more root crops or greens, and then the peas. So these beds we have cleared out for more root crops, but also for cut flowers. This is a cut flower. This is I can't recall the name of it, but it's that blue spiky flower. So I planted 5 of them here because this bed has been the hardest bed for me to get sun to, because it just kind of is at the middle point or whatever. But these are good for part sun. So I think they're going to do really well here. I'm very excited. They're very healthy. So that's encouraging. These are onions right here. And then we've got our ginger is so sad. It got snapped really good with the frost that came through. But we did not affect it did not affect the tubers. So look how beautiful that is. So you can take this right here and you can take it straight inside and grind it up and put it in the dehydrator and you've got tea. Or you can slice it up and kind of do a situation, make some ginger ale, which is what we're going to do. But ginger is really good for you. And I'm really excited about growing. This, I think, is my biggest crop that I've ever grown because I've already harvested, you can tell, I've already harvested 1, 2, 3 clumps. But ginger is one of the easiest things to grow, one of the healthiest things to have in your garden. And it delights people when they come through because you can run your fingers through the foliage and people are like, oh, I don't know what that smell is. And it's ginger and they're delighted. But all you do to grow ginger and is snap it and put this in the ground. And that it just grows. It does its thing. It's a rhizome. And it's very similar to a potato, how a potato grows. But they they're very, very easy. So I highly recommend this for a beginner. But they are not cold hardy, so they don't even like the cold a little bit. So next year, depending on if any volunteer, this actually, um, this corner one, this biggest one, was a volunteer. It was already growing before I remembered to put tubers in from last year. But these store really well in your pantry. And so I highly recommend growing them. They're a lot of fun. Next year, I'll probably put them on that side to get more sun so that this doesn't happen. Because usually in November, ginger is still growing pretty good for me. Um, but I think that wraps it up. So thank you so much for spending this time with us. I hope that you got some ideas. I know we kind of went a little bit fast through here, but I will be posting videos about individually planting things and plant care and educational side of things. But I really hope, again, this encourages you to get out and do the dirt. There's a lot that could be growing right now, but there's a lot of other tasks that you could be doing in your garden to prepare. And I really encourage you to go get some soil health started and doing things like that. But anyway, I hope you guys have a blessed day. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I hope this gave you a little bit of joy.